recently have exited or will be leaving in the near future.
Because it's their time or because of COVID?
Well, because they've been there for so long.
Right, so it's about
yeah.
that time, yeah.
So there's a trustee that's been there for almost 30 years, and that's a very long time to serve in that type of position. So whoever steps into their seat needs to have a good understanding of what the core values are and what the standards are and what makes Clovis Unified a benchmark for education. And I have two bonus daughters that are in the school district, so I have a vested interest in working to make the school district better.
Well, what do you think of all these things that happen? Because it's a very different time than when you were going to school. So now we have Common Core. What do you think of all that we have going on now with the different learning tools that we have?
Yeah, so there's certainly been a lot of changes since I was there. But before I answer that, what I will say is one of the biggest advantages that I bring to the table is my age. And I think that's a big benefit because I can relate to what the parents, the challenges that they see, and I can also look at it from a student's perspective because I graduated in 2009. So I'd like to think that I'm familiar with some of the issues that students are seeing.
That's a good point.
Yeah, definitely. And the Common Core, I think the intent of creating a standard is good. However, I feel like the delivery, application, and implementation is totally off. When I'm trying to assist my bonus daughters with their math, a lot of times it's like I'm writing hieroglyphics, trying to write a story to answer a simple math problem, and it just doesn't seem logical to me. And they're making them go through 12 different steps to solve a problem. So I think the intent is good. However, I'm not a fan of it from how it's implemented and how it's applied, because I think it can easily get convoluted and make things more difficult than they should be.
And I just gotta say, I know you were running before COVID hit, and I can only imagine. This is just such a challenge right now to be in this because you have people that want to keep schools closed, people that want to open. How are you navigating this world right now?
Yeah, so it's certainly a different world. I started really campaigning probably in October or November of 2019, and I started really early just because I knew how difficult it is to get a seat on the school board for Clovis Unified. So I started a long time ago. And, a lot of what I was doing in 2019 consisted of just meeting with people, having coffee, talking to parents, marketing through social media. I had a campaign kickoff in December of 2019, which is really, really early to start. But I wanted to get the ball rolling early because I knew how much of an uphill challenge it was going to be to win. And certainly you throw in the pandemic and it's made my campaigning a lot more of a challenge just because a lot of the things that I would have planned on doing isn't feasible where we're at today. And an example of that is like going to different events and speaking at different events. So I've had to get a little creative on what I'm doing. So I've been doing a lot of virtual and Zoom meetings with groups. So I spoke to the Clovis West Foundation via Zoom on Tuesday, Wednesday last week. Tomorrow I'm doing a Zoom meeting with the Fresno Area Hispanic Foundation. So it's different, but it's not impossible, and it's certainly made me be more creative on how I'm getting my name out there.
How does that work though when you get into this position within the school? So you have some people that want schools to remain closed, some people that want schools to open, and you're going to have to be sensitive on both sides. That's a challenge you never thought you were going to have to deal with until after you already were committed and I'm campaigning, I'm doing this. How did you feel when all this happened, knowing that now old challenges you have are now you have this huge new challenge?
Yeah.
How are you dealing with that?
I'm dealing with it great. I think now more than ever, we need a leader to step up and one, fight for our students, be a voice for our educators and a sounding board for our community. And that's what I've been doing. I've talked, since I've been campaigning the last year, I've had the opportunity to talk to parents. I've had the opportunity to talk to educators. I've had the opportunity to talk to students and see, what are the interests and what is the pulse. Certainly, if you asked me in December of 2019 if I would be planning for, schools to be closed or to open, I would say you're crazy. But look where we're at today. So it's certainly created some more challenges, but as I mentioned, right now more than ever, we need leaders to step up and make sure that the school district is headed in the right direction. So, I've been a strong proponent of schools opening back up and getting our students back in the classroom. However, we need to do that with precautions, and we need to do it with safety measures in place. And there's a lot of different things that are worthy of exploring, whether it's wearing masks, whether it's working with a hybrid schedule, doing temperature taking, reducing or capping how many students are allowed in a classroom. I think we're headed in that right direction, but it certainly is a challenge for whoever steps into the role as a trustee for Clovis Unified, because it's a very sensitive topic, and people either think that schools need to be completely shut down or schools need to be open. So it's certainly a challenge. And my reasoning behind schools opening up, and I think one of the biggest things is, when they decided, and this was mandated at a state level, but when it was decided that schools needed to be closed, I don't think there was a comprehensive discussion about the risk involved with schools being closed.
And what are some of those risks?
Well, we look at, academic progress has slowed exponentially. We look at the spike in mental illnesses for students. I believe the Fresno Bee just published an article talking about the increase in suicide rates and suicide attempts for students. Another thing is, teachers are, I believe, the number 2 most reported, mandated reporters of child abuse and neglect. And now, with them not being in front of their students, a lot of that is going under the radar. In addition to that, the school serves as a means to meals for students. They serve as a means to physical education to students. Being next to someone else and having a conversation with your peer is important to your social and your emotional development. So I think there's also risk associated with schools being closed, and I think it's important that we look at that as well.
I mean, yeah, my heart goes out to children because, we've never experienced anything like this. And even I was homeschooled for a big portion of my life, but I still had activities. No one ever said I couldn't be around children sometimes. And so I can only imagine what that's like, especially for only children.
Yeah.
And I just, my heart just goes out to them.
It's certainly a challenge. And, it's been an adjustment for families, for teachers, for educators, for administration, and even when we do return back to school, it's not going to look like what it looked like pre-COVID. There's going to be a lot of changes, but it's been a year of adjustments for the, not for the world, for the school district specifically, and what we're discussing today.
And so, I mean, yeah, if you have a child that's running up and hugging another child and like, no, don't do that. I mean, this is psychologically damaging. We're telling people not to be isolated, and that's got to be hard. And what really spoke to me is when I've heard that they're saying, it's the kids that don't have parents that are putting them on these Zooms or making sure they come back to school on time because you have so many breaks, that they're just not going to get the education everybody else is, or that the poor kids are not going to get what everybody else is. I mean, how as a community, what do we need to do to step up to make sure we can help? I mean, I don't have any children, but I really want to help. What can someone like me do?
Yeah, well, to reiterate what you're saying, we know for a fact that distance learning disproportionately affects, in a negative way, students of low socioeconomic status, minority students, disabled students, ESL students. So we know for a fact that those students are more adversely affected in a negative way than their peers. Supporting those families and making sure that they have the resources to ensure that their child is having somewhat of a routine is important. And just being there for your neighbor and community members who have students that are maybe facing more challenges when it comes to distance learning.
And how can we, being that we're not even supposed to be around people? There's people that I know that said, the child was with one parent and they weren't making sure that they were getting onto their Zoom calls, and then they had to go be transferred to the other parent, and that parent's making sure that they were getting back to their Zoom classes. How can someone like me as a concerned citizen get involved and interject myself to make sure, let me help these people? Like if we all come across, how can we actually help? That's what I feel so lost and helpless right now. How can someone like me make a difference?
Yeah. To speak to your first point, as a blended family who, shares custody of kids, we're in that same scenario too. So they're at one house learning, and then, at our house learning. And it really takes a village to make sure that, we're able to create an environment for them that's conducive to their success in these challenging times where, their traditional day is flipped on its head because they're used to going to school, they're used to having recess, they're used to talking to their friends.
They had activities too, physical activities.
Exactly,
right?
and then now they're being constrained to their house. So it's challenging, and my only advice to say is just support your neighbors. If there's anyone that that is going through those challenges, just reach out and ask what can we do to assist. Make sure that they, have, access to a laptop. Make sure they have access to Wi-Fi.
How does this happen? Is the school helping with the laptops?
So yes, the school is working with that.
Okay.
The school initially, when the pandemic started and schools were shut down, there was an overhaul to obtain laptops and then also mobile hotspots, so that students can participate in distance learning. But even it's a challenge. For in some there are students that are homeless. How does that affect them? There are students who are in foster care, and they may not have a full routine on what distance learning looks like. So there's a lot of challenges. I mean, there's people who live in rural areas, and a mobile hotspot doesn't work there.
Right.
So there's a unique set of challenges, and I think Clovis Unified has done a good job at taking steps in the right direction to help accommodate those students.
Right. So what do you plan to do when you get in there? I know how you're good, because you said you could learn from from the student's perspective, from the parent's perspective. When you get in there, what are some of the changes that you personally want to make? And why is it so important that as a community we get involved in this part of our government? Because a lot of times when people are voting, they're like, okay, we're going to vote for this, and that. And then there's these other things people are like, I don't know the difference. I don't know who's this person's this from, what they stand for. What is it that you stand for, and what do you plan to do?
Yeah, so first and foremost, as I mentioned earlier, I think it's critical that whoever steps into these seats on the school board needs to uphold the standards and values that has made our school district successful. We're a benchmark for education, and other districts look to us. So we need to have a clear understanding of what that looks like, and someone that will uphold those standards and values. I also think it's equally as important that the whoever steps in brings a fresh and a unique perspective, and I think the community deserves that. I think it's easy to get myopic and have tunnel vision if you're in a position for 20, 25, 30 years. So I think bringing in a fresh and unique perspective is critical to the school district. There are some different areas that I would like to focus on. One of them being an expansion and overhaul of career tech opportunities and vocational opportunities. And the reason I feel that that's so important is because not all students are geared to enroll in a 4-year college. So I think giving them or providing them the opportunity to be exposed or providing the opportunity to develop a trade or a skill will help their development and help in them being productive members of the community in the future. In addition to that, we're seeing a huge change in the labor market, and I think, equipping students with a skill or a trade is going to make them more marketable in the future. So that's one of the areas that I would like to focus on.
And it gives them some self-esteem, because not everybody's book smart.
Exactly. And I mean, you look at it, there's tradesmen that, went to, high school and then got on with PG&E and worked their way up, and they're making 80, 90, 100,000 without, a formal 4-year college degree.
Right.
Not to say that, we shouldn't focus on prepping students for college, because I think that's important. But I think in addition to that, we need to promote the ability or provide the opportunity for them to learn a skill or a trade.
I like that. No, it's very important.
So I think that's going to be very important moving forward, and I think it's an opportunity for Clovis Unified to be an innovator and lead in this direction, and I think that's going to be very important in education moving forward. Another area that I would like to focus on is really making sure that our students are not slipping through the cracks. So Clovis Unified does a phenomenal job at catering to our students who achieve academically and our students who achieve athletically, and that's great. We need to continue to support them. But there are also a lot of students that are slipping through the cracks. And there's, it could be a variety of groups of students, whether it's, students with disabilities or our students who are, English is their second language.
Right.
Our students that are low socioeconomic status. What are we doing to reach those kids and making sure that they have a fair and equitable opportunity to succeed like all of their peers? So that's an area that I would like to focus on as well. The school district already has some things in place. Like a few years ago, they implemented the Transitions program, and that's a program geared at helping these students that may be slipping through the cracks. So it's looking at, how can we be creative in expanding and improving on what we're doing in that area. And then lastly, the other area that I feel is important is the mental well-being of students. The school district by no means should shoulder all of that responsibility, but as an institution in the community where kids spend a good portion of their day, they need to take on some of that responsibility. There have been several deaths by suicide in Clovis Unified, and I don't know this for certain, but it is likely that there were some this year, and it wouldn't surprise me if in the district there was an increase in that. And due to HIPAA laws and privacy, a lot of those things can't be disclosed to the community. But I think the mental well-being of students is important as we move forward. And we're as a school district and in Clovis, we have a law school, we're going to have a medical school, we have a pharmacy, we have community medical providers, we have phenomenal nonprofits. It's really going to take a consortium to look at how we're going to impact the mental well-being of students, not only today but in the future. And I think the school district can position themselves to spearhead that challenge.
And you're a very well-rounded person. I know that you are always, you don't you do like karate or something?
Jiu-jitsu.
Jiu-jitsu.
Yes. Close.
So, you do like different things. I mean, you're
Yeah.
involved in that. You're involved in the finance world.
Uh-huh.
You have these two bonus children.
Uh-huh.
So you could really help reach a lot of people in the community. You're not afraid to go out there and be like, I know people from this. You're a good networker.
Yeah.
How is that going to help you in this position?
Well, I think it's going to be extremely beneficial. A lot of how I built my financial services practice was going out, meeting people, talking to people, attending events, and that's how I was able to grow. And I think that correlates to what I've been doing the past year. In addition to growing my business, is growing to have a better understanding of the mechanics of the school district. So that involved me meeting and talking to a lot of different people, from talking to the lead psychologists, to talking to developers, to talking to teachers, to talking to parents. And that's what I mean when I say I have a good pulse of what some of the concerns are for community members. And I think that's going to be extremely beneficial because I'll share an example with you. Is as the school district grows, we'll need in the future to purchase additional land, purchase additional buildings. We'll have to build new buildings. And I think having a good understanding of the developer's perspective and where Clovis is growing and the appropriate areas to do that type of development for the school district is important. And I think it's going to be beneficial that I have a relationship or a working relationship with a lot of different community members so that I can weigh in on different inputs from different people. Because in my opinion, one of the prescribed duties of a trustee is to talk to different people so that you can understand different perspectives, because I feel that will equip a trustee to make the best decisions for the community. And that's what I've been doing the past year, is talking to a lot of people.
How much power are you going to have to implement change if you got that seat on the school board? And I always ask every person this when they come on, so don't feel, but I've asked it different. I'm like, okay, so what is your position and what do you really get to do? Because it's really important that viewers know this, because we are looking at the voting ballots. It's like, what do I do? Is this really that important? Some people just go on party lines. People ask their friends, who do I vote for? It's a very big decision, and tell us why. Tell us what power you actually have in that position.
Yeah, so one of the things that I'm a strong proponent of is local control, and making sure that, as trustees, as community members, we have a pulse of what the concerns are for the community, therefore that we should be making decisions at a local level. Unfortunately, in the public education systems where there's a lot of public funds, one of the challenges that often occurs is that you have the local school district level, you also have the county level, and then you have the state level, and then you have the federal level. So although local control is critical and important, a lot of what happens gets pushed down from a state or a county level onto the school district. And a clear example of that is when this was in probably early July, when the school district on Wednesday all voted unanimously to open up schools, and then on Friday, Governor Newsom came out and shared that Fresno County, they're a specific color, therefore we're not going to allow them to open. So local control is critical, but I think what the general public has to understand is that while it's critical, there is that kind of pull and tug between county and state level as well.
And Gary Bredefeld's supporting you, right?
Yes, yep, absolutely.
What advice has he given you through this process?
Well, we've met a couple different times, and he's been a phenomenal resource for me, and I look up to him. He's done a great job on the Fresno City Council, and he really stands up for what he feels is right and is a reflection of his constituents, and I think he does a great job. So I think he's a person that leads by example.
So who else can you say that's like backing you up on this and has given you some advice?
Yeah, so I have Fresno City Councilman Gary Bretterfeld. I have Clovis City Councilwoman Lynn Ashbeck, Clovis City Councilman Bob Whalen. I also
I know
have
Bob.
Bob's a great guy. Yeah, he's been a great resource for me, and I've had several conversations with him throughout this process. I'm also endorsed by Clovis City Councilman Vong Monatua as well, and I have several business owners and community leaders that I'm endorsed by as well.
And how are you going to work with the Fresno School Board? How do you guys work together?
So in my position, I'm not necessarily aware of how the school districts work together. I'm sure to some extent there's a sharing of resources, but I'm not fully aware of the cohesion or how the interaction occurs between Fresno Unified and Clovis Unified.
Okay, and then like I had asked you a question about going from one school district to another, because I guess the people I know, they want to put their son in a program, like a GATE program, keep them in the Clovis school district, but then also have them in a GATE program if he's accepted into it, but it's only in Fresno. So there's a lot of these crossover problems you have to deal with. Do you work together in that circumstance with them, or you don't know yet if you guys are going to work together in that?
So I know that, so Fresno Unified is a bigger school district, and when it comes to funding, they get funded a lot more money than Clovis Unified.
Okay.
And they also offer a lot of different options on how Fresno Unified families can choose to educate their kids. They have more charter schools. They have dual immersion. They have magnet schools. They have a lot of different offerings, and I think that's great, and I think it's ultimately I think offering more options to families and how their students can learn is a good idea. I'll share a little scenario with you. At the end of last year, Clovis Global Academy was a charter school that was seeking approval through Clovis Unified so that they can be in Clovis Unified and operate a dual immersion program. And unfortunately, the board unanimously voted to not approve and oppose the charter for Clovis Global Academy. And I think that was a big loss for the school district because from all of the community members that I talked to, all of them indicated that having a option for dual immersion for my child to learn a second language is a phenomenal opportunity. And I think that's an area that we can look at improving is, how do we expand on giving different options to families in the community? Whether it's charter schools, or dual immersion. I think over time we can work in that direction to expand in that area, ultimately giving families more options.
I think that's really important, and it gets all very confusing to me about the differences of what schools are. I mean, I know I've bothered you asking you so many different questions because I'm always trying to figure out what the difference is. And you had said that Gary was backing you up, and he's with Fresno, so I was like wondering how much you guys have where you come together to work on these solutions.
Well, the reason Gary's endorsement was so beneficial for me is because Clovis Unified bleeds into Fresno. So there's people who live in the city of Fresno, but their kids go to Clovis Unified. So like Clovis North or Clovis West area.
Right.
Technically you're living in the city of Fresno,
Exactly.
but your child is going into Clovis Unified. So a big part of Clovis Unified that is in the city of Fresno is represented or is in Gary Bretterfeld's district.
So you do get to work closely with them, so that is helpful to get some of these cross.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Thank you so much for coming on. And I want viewers to know that you are very accessible to everybody that needs
Absolutely.
you and very helpful. And your energy. I don't know where you get it from, but you're always available for everyone all the time.
It's my jujitsu in the morning. It keeps me level-headed.
Thank you so much, Jonathan.
Thank you, Sparkle.
Welcome to the Sparkle Show. With us, we have Rosette. Rosette, you do so much because you're a fitness instructor. You do
there.
boot camp, and you do actual people, like one-on-one sessions. You do it
Yes.
all. You do like the whole...
You know, I've been doing this for about 4 years now, and
That's it?
it's just
You
been
seem like
so-
the pro of the pros. Only 4 years?
only 4 years. I feel like with the timing, you get more comfortable with the people, and you start building that connection with them, so it makes it come out natural.
So how did you start? Because you have your own fitness journey, which is pretty impressive and exciting. Tell us
you.
about that.
So I started, I've always been really active since I was in high school. I joined cross country. I did some soccer, basketball. So I started.
You were the all-around athlete.
You could say that. And then I started taking classes. I started with Andy's class, spinning. Fell in love with the class. It was
Andy's the best.
She is. I had to be there. So
I can't even spin without her. I mean, there are certain things like, I could never just do it by myself after that.
I know, right? She has that energy. It's just the music, the energy, everything about it is just so good. So I started there. I started going to the gym. Being a single mom of 4, the gym helped me a lot. So
I think we want to back up to that. The single mom of 4. I mean,
Yes.
everybody, it's like 4 kids. Wow. So you had 4 kids
I had 4 kids
out of that body.
I had to get my mental therapy, and the gym was something that helped me. So I started going to the gym with all the kids to the daycare.
So when you had it, were you active during your pregnancy or
I
right?
was. I
So
was.
that really helped you,
Yeah,
huh?
I
So you never
always-
got really chunky monkey at one point, did
Never
you?
stopped. I just never stopped.
That's so impressive. That's
Thank
really
you.
impressive, and that's inspirational, and that means anybody can do it.
Yes, anybody. It's just, it's all mental. So once you have this goal, you just have to continue to, finish your goal. So yeah, I started, always never stopped. So I was working out while being pregnant because I always had that in my mind, man, I don't want to gain so much weight after I have the kids. And then, money-wise, surgery is expensive. I don't know if I want to do that. So I was just I got to eat healthy and just keep myself active. So.
And that's going to be really good for them because I don't know what you see, but I see a lot of kids just eating really bad these days. I don't see a lot of...
I feel, I guess, how the schools now, they switched up the nutrition.
And that's really good.
So I feel I don't know if it's just me, but I see a lot of positive now as far as nutrition-wise. Like McDonald's, for example, now they have the apples,
Right.
But,
that is true. As a culture, we've gone in a positive direction.
Right.
But like you, I'm a trainer, and I also work at a restaurant. At the restaurant, everybody, it's actually a bar. People come in and they're like, where's the kids menu? And I'm like, we welcome children, but we're not encouraging.
Oh.
I know, see that, but so they're always like, where's the kids menu? And it's like, we offer the grilled cheese sandwiches, we offer burgers, and so what else do you need them to have? So you're just basically wanting the chicken nuggets and the mac and cheese and the this and that. And it's and we have healthy, nutritious food. It's like they want the unhealthy. So that's why I'm wondering if you see a lot of your friends. I know you're probably in a fit crowd, but if you see when you go out in public and you're wondering, not that you're judgmental, but you see other kids eating that and you're just as a mom, you're trying to keep them in your direction.
Right. My kids at home, we don't even have anything sweet there. It's all water, and I know it sounds kind of harsh.
You don't gotta be that boring, girl.
Wait, hold on. Let me rephrase that. I mean, it's not all that, sweet. We do have some sweets, but as far as soda, there's no soda at home. It's just water. And,
Right.
My kids eat a lot of fruits, cherry tomatoes, and stuff like that. There's chips. They like hot Cheetos. They love Takis and stuff like that. But as far as I cook a lot, so we hardly ever go out to eat too. Because plus, I have 4 kids, so it's kind of I'm kind of more on the more expensive side. So I kind of like to cook at home, and I was raised in that type of matter of traditional cooking at home, and sitting down with the kids and having that, bonding, and we all
That's
get together
good.
and we all cook together. So it's I don't know. I can't not really. We don't really go out to eat
So
like
what's
that.
the kind of stuff that you guys make like as a family? What's one of your healthy dishes that you notice that kids like, so that people out there know what they can get for their kids?
Spaghetti. Instead of using the regular ground beef, I like to do it with the ground turkey. I like to do a lot of spaghetti. My kids love spaghetti. Also, we do a lot of like Alfredo chicken. It's not the healthiest, but we throw in some broccoli in there. Just adding more of the vegetables into our meals, hiding them in there like spaghetti. I like to add like the bell peppers, all the colors.
Okay, girls, I'm so glad you said carbs. So that means you like to eat carbs.
I love carbs. And I know if my coach does watch this, I've been trying to keep it clean. But yeah, I do love carbs. I do have a lot of carbs in my diet.
So you're not trying to like exclude them, right?
I'm not trying to exclude them, but I'm not trying to like cut them off completely. I balance.
Well, because some of our bodies need
Yes.
carbs. I know depending on blood type, some of us need carbs more than others. So I'm glad that you support that movement of just
Yeah.
that.
Otherwise, I'll be, I'm already dealing with the 4 kids, and then plus the carb being cut off. Oh my gosh, I can't.
Oh
It'll be
yeah,
too much for
I
me.
think I did 3 days like that, and I don't think anybody wanted me to be around me 3 days without carbs.
Yeah. It's just,
So you've always been fit. So what's the next goal? So how did you get into training? So you had these kids, you went to the gym. How did somebody say, oh, you could be a trainer now, and then you found the time to do it? Tell us that.
I feel like it was the challenge of going to the classes and being there all the time and just, watching the instructor and just, I don't know. One day, when I was in the car listening to music, I just started creating my own rhythm to like spin, because that's where I started. I started with spin. So I started thinking about numbers, because that's, spinning with Andy, it's all about 4, 3, hover. So I just started like listening to music, and that's how I started thinking like, hey, you know what? I feel like I could do this. And then one day, sure enough, it happened. She gave up the class, and I was always there. So she did notice me in the crowd that, this girl.
So she said, hey, why don't you try to do this when I'm...
She goes, you want the class? And I said, wait, what? You're giving me the class? Hold on. It was scary. It was, because, I've never teach in a large crowd. She had a lot of people coming to the class. So it was just something new to me. So I was like, all right, I'll do it. And from there, it just went on. And then after that,
That had to be really like intimidating.
it was, oh my gosh. At first, I was just kind of not trying to look at the people, just trying to focus on the numbers and the music. And, obviously the first month, I felt like I sucked. I was like, man, I suck. They're not going to come back. And then, I don't know, I just pretty much just thinking about it in a positive way, just thinking about it like I love this so much. So I feel like the love that I had for it, it just created it more, where the people started connecting to it, and they started like, I don't know, feeling the vibes. And next thing you know, I had a big class, and that used to, make me so happy. So I started doing it for that
That's
too.
so cool. Well, and I know too, and this is the biggest thing that people have. They'll look at the list, they'll see their instructor, and they'll be like, oh, Andy's not here, I'm not going to cycle, I'm not going to do this. So then you probably had to go through that. I mean, that had to be really challenging. And luckily, I've never had a situation where I filled in something that was already established. I kind of
Yeah.
so I can only imagine how that must have been for you.
It was. There was times that I used to feel bad. I'll walk in, and as a sub too, and once
And they get disappointed
they don't
that-
recognize you, and they walk out. Half of the class just walks out. And
I
I'm
never
like,
thought about that. Oh my God! From now on, I'm never. If somebody I was not there, I'm never. Everybody watching, never walk out.
But you know what? That actually makes a person, though, because feeling that makes you feel like, okay, this hurts, but hey, you know what? I'm gonna show these people that I could do it too.
You're gonna become that person that people walk out of
Yeah.
if you're not there.
And they kept thinking that over and over, and I'll go home and I'll be bummed out about it, but next class will be better, and then it feels good, and then next thing you know, boom, everybody's there, and then you just get that feeling from them, like just walking into a class and then just seeing all these people waiting for you. That's just an amazing. I can't even explain how
It's a high.
it's a high. Like, oh
a
my
rush.
gosh, like it just feels so good. Like these people are amazing. Like I feel so loved.
So how you went from doing that, being an instructor, and then out of that, some private personal training.
Yeah, so I did the spinning for about 3 years, and after that, I was also taking boot camp classes. So I
Where at?
GB3 as well. So I was in the front, Always, I'm very, I don't know why I just like being in the front. So I was in the front, you know, I fell in love with our instructor too. Her name was Laura. We became very close friends, and I started, you know, started talking, and then she got married and she decided to give up the class as well, and she gave it to me. So then I was doing spinning 3 days out of the week plus the boot camp. So I was.
So
Oh my God,
you're
yeah.
a smart girl. You got paid to work out to do what you like. You're like, I need to get my workout in. So instead of having to call all the kids there just for that, now you're getting paid for it. You're getting
And-
paid to do what you.
Right, and then the kids will, well, obviously when you become an instructor, you get the free daycare. So it was like the whole.
You are one smart cookie, girl.
So yeah, it started from there. So yeah, after that, Laura gave me the class, and I took over her class, and I started noticing that I started dropping a lot of weight because I was doing so much. Because I had to, like, with spinning especially, it was a bit more stressful because you have to, like, obviously I didn't want to, like, have the same playlist. I wanted to switch it up. So I had to, like, always find different songs and then remember the numbers, and then boot camp. So I decided to give up spinning, and then I just started the boot camp. So I did boot camp for about, I think, 2 years. It's my third year now that I've been doing it, because I still do boot camp now. And then from there I started just individually taking some clients just to, you know, get them to that. It's not exactly personal training. It's more like I want these clients to get the rhythm of my boot camp. So when I do the boot camp in large, they're not discoordinated or they're lost, you know.
So you're doing more like boot camp style workouts and like them on a machine being like, do this many reps out. You're doing, it's all like.
Right. So when I train someone one-on-one, I'm basically doing my boot camp style.
Just with them.
Just with them, and then they
Right.
like it because it's more like it's a total body workout. It's
Right.
It's great, and it's kind of like not as you know normally when you do personal training you're kind of in a machine and you feel like, oh gosh, you know, I don't know how they feel about it, but to me I like to make it more like fun for them, where they're like
Right.
feeling okay, they're challenged, and they're kind of like into a rhythm with the song, with the beat.
Well, this is so good. And the good thing about you is that you did this before you got into it. You were going to these classes and you knew how it made you feel and how
Yeah,
special these
yes.
people were for you, that Andy was special, the other person was special. So you're like, you know how to make other people feel because that you were that girl in the front of the room.
Right, and I always had like, obviously me as a student, I always would, think like, oh, I want them to like, show me this, show me that, and I want to show my clients this and that. So I kind of like picked up from everything and then just, created this.
Okay, so what's it called?
It's just a hit. I do like a hit boot camp.
Was it Briz's Boot Camp?
No, BrizFit.
BrizFit, okay.
Yes, BrizFit, because my name is Brizette, and I don't know, it's just, I love my name.
I love your name too.
I didn't want to have it so long, like Brizette Fitness, so I said BrizFit. Okay, that kind of sounds good, so I put those together, and it's still that way, BrizFit training.
Nice. So where can we call you to do it?
So I have my Instagram, BrizFit /1.
And then how much does it cost?
So right now, obviously, since the gyms are not open or whatever, I'm still doing the boot camps at the park. So I do charge $150 for the month. So this includes a meal plan. It's not custom.
Okay. How many times do you get to go to the boot camp?
2 times a week.
Okay.
So it's $150 for the whole month with the meal plan included.
It's about an hour workout.
It's about an hour workout.
And then if they want additional, how much cardio should I do? We give them like also kind of a little fitness plan.
So yeah, so the days that we don't work out, the days that I don't do the sessions with them, I will make a workout plan for the days that they don't work out. So they have workouts from Monday through Friday.
Give them homework.
Yeah, and then also I give them check-ins Friday. So Fridays they'll send me a picture of how much weight they lost and stuff like that. So.
And what about drop-ins? How much is it to do a drop-in?
Drop-ins, I do boot camp Saturdays. Some Saturdays when I don't do anything with my kids, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do a boot camp today. So I'll do a boot camp Saturday. It's $10 for the class.
I'm down to drop it.
Yeah, and it's different and it's fun, and we're outside, so we're 6 feet apart. So if somebody has a concern or whatever, you could be over there on the side. You don't have to be around the crowd.
Right. So what's something that you see for yourself that you'd like?
I honestly, right now, I love the fact that I could help these women that are trying to reach a goal and just make them feel confident. And I enjoy fitness, and just doing what I'm doing now. I mean, I enjoy this now that I'm, and I want to make it, obviously, I've been doing it for so long, connecting with them and helping them transform their bodies.
Is it mainly women that you target, or you take in men as well?
Mainly women. Men could come as well. I feel like now that I've been doing this on my own, as far like at the park, women is more women than men. It's actually women, no men. But when I was over at GB3, I had men as well.
And especially in spin class.
Correct, yeah.
That's cool. So you're kind of learning to do both, the men and the women. It's like
I could challenge both. When there's men in the class,
sometimes they work out not as good as the women too. Have you noticed?
yeah, especially because we do a lot of leg work too. So we have bands. So
And they
you have some men. I'll see some men with the bands on, and they're kind of okay. But it's fine. It's challenging for them.
It is, because they don't do stuff like that, so they think it looks easy and it's funny when they see
Right.
girls do it, and they do it, and they're like, ah.
And the next time I see them, they'll come back. Next time they come back, they'll be like, "Hey, gosh, I was sore. Those
Right.
bands." And I'm like, "Well, those bands are work."
It's those workouts. I'm gonna get KP out there working out with us too with those bands. Yeah, I mean, so this is something. Can you also do family? So like, if someone wanted you to come to their house and do like their entire family, would you be open to do that?
Yes, I actually been training groups, like some groups that have hired me to come over to their house, and I was doing that for a while too.
The families.
The not the families, not like a big family, but like
Right.
a group. Like it's of course, a sister and an aunt, a cousin, like 3 people, and then I'll just come and train them, and then it was fun, but I had to stop that because I was doing too many stops. So now what I'm doing now is just the groups.
Right.
So everybody just comes at the group 1 hour, and then I get to have some time for myself and my kids.
What about 4 kids? And this is like a really important thing, because how old are your kids, by the way?
My oldest, she is 13, and
Okay.
I have a son, he's 11, and then my 2 little girls, 8 and 7.
8 and 7. Okay. So do you start working them out pretty young? Because I mean, I'm with my fitness background. My mom started working me out when I was 2. I actually said I could work out before I could walk.
Yeah.
So we did those Jane Fonda workouts from the 80s. So when did you start with your kids and showing them, like, how old were
workouts?
they? Yeah. I'm sure it's different, but what did you show them?
Well, my kids, they really, you know how now they have TikTok and stuff like that? So they have the TikTok, and they do a lot of the Just Dance.
Yeah.
So they get on YouTube, and they're just doing the Just Dance, do workouts like that. But my 13-year-old, she's actually the one that's she's been in the mirror doing her jump squats, and she's been doing workouts that I do. So it's kind of like,
So do you invite her to come to some of these things?
yeah, she had came to like 2 of my events that I have had. But she's a teenager right now, so she kind of she's not really, this is the early, because I do it at 7:30, so it's too early for her. But at home, she does it with me. So I was thinking of possibly, probably having her in a video one day with me, like having like a mom and daughter type of workout type of thing.
Oh, that would be sweet.
So that'll be kind of cool, like something different,
So what about for other kids? When you've done some of these families, you had never an entire family, did they ever bring their kids? Did you do some mother-daughter workouts and some father-son
Yeah, I actually
workouts?
have a 2-year-old right now on a class.
A 2-year-old?
Yeah, the mom brings the daughter, and she
does the
She does the
workouts?
workouts. It's so adorable.
Wow, because I'll have 2-year-olds around, but they never engaging in the workouts that
Yeah.
I've seen. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's really cute.
So from here on, what's the next plan? Where are we going to take Briz Fitness?
Brisk Fitness. Actually, I'm working on my website right now. So I want to do a website where, because I have a lot of people from not only from Fresno, but from out of town that want to train.
You want to do like some Zoom classes or FaceTime?
I don't know about Zoom, just because I tried Zoom and it kind of freezes on us a little bit. So I'm thinking about, I want to do like my own workout app where I could have my workouts in my app on my website. And then if you want to purchase the app.
So
then
they
you-
just download the app and they see your workouts?
Yes.
Are they working out with you, or they're just seeing, they're just watching it?
Watching it.
So it's kind of like doing a YouTube thing, but you're charging because it's an app. And
Correct.
it's more personally designed for them, right?
Yes. And I could upload videos there and stuff like that. So that's what I've been working on this past week. My guy's he's still working on it. Still getting some projects done. So let's see how that turns out.
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
excited.
This
and
is so
nervous.
exciting. So what do you say to other moms that are like, I mean, because the biggest excuse I always get, and I don't have children, so I don't have that whole backstory of like, oh, I know what it's like because I don't know what it's like. So when people are saying, all these challenges, you're kind of like, well, I did it, so you can do it too. What do you say?
Well, I get a lot of that. Oh, I can't. I don't have time. But I honestly just tell them like, hey, you know what? When you want something, you make time for it, and that's just the type of attitude you need to have.
Well, and a lot of people think that their body's so far gone because they gained so much weight when they had the baby. So what do you tell them at that point when they're just like, oh, I'm so far gone? Or whatever, just be like, no.
It's possible. It's possible. There's
And you're the living proof.
Well, there's myself, and there's other women that I could also show them like, hey, look at this woman, because I have some transformations as well. So I have them all on my Instagram as well, and I always.
We can show some of that too that you have. You do have some. I was thumbing through some of your transformations. That's so impressive.
Yeah, and it's it's. There's just to me. There's no. I can't. I just don't. I don't.
What's the biggest transformation you've seen in your?
I was training my comadre. I don't know how to say that in English. I'm sorry. I'm from down south, so. Yeah, my comadre, she was my biggest transformation. I trained her for about 6 months, and she was 170, and she went down to 130. She lost so much weight. Wow. Yeah, and she looks amazing. And then after she dropped the weight, she wanted to challenge herself differently, so then she gained muscle. So we started from the drop down, and then the muscle gained, and yeah, that was my biggest transformation.
So do you want to do competitive shows at all? I'm sure you get this question a lot.
You know what? Honestly, right now, I actually have a coach, and I just hired a coach because I felt like since I'm training a lot of clients, I felt like I kind of like wanted somebody to like
keep you accountable.
Yes,
right.
Because it's sometimes I lose track. I'm not eating my meals. I wanted to gain more muscle. I do a lot of cardio, so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna hire a coach just to see.
Oh yeah, you were talking about that you're running.
Yeah, I have it's I don't know where I get this energy from. I have so much. Sometimes I run 10 miles, and I don't even know how I ran them. I'm like, whoa, 10 miles? I just stopped now? But yeah, anyways, back to that. So I hired a coach, and she asked me if I wanted to compete one day, and I'm still thinking about it. So we're gonna see how these 12 weeks go, and you just never know. I'm just a little scared because of the whole carb thing.
Right.
Because that's going to be like straight dedication. Like people that compete, hands down to them. Like that's something that you can't, you have to like really stick to your diet. So
how do you feel? I mean, I just did a fitness competition, not like that, but I did Miss Health and Fitness competition, and I made it to the top 1%. So that was exciting.
Yeah,
that was the first I ever did of anything like that. But I noticed in that it's very weird to be competing against a bunch of other women. I had become friends with like some of them and everything, but I think sometimes in this industry they kind of like, I don't know if they pit us against each other or whatever, because it's like I want to be friends with everybody, not really a competitor. Everyone would be like, everybody is like, because we look up to each other. I mean, this is like really cool, and we can learn stuff from each other. I mean, you give me hope that if I ever have kids, I can bounce right back,
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you feel we could be more supportive of each other? Like women can support women in this industry that are also fellow competitors of yours.
I feel like, I feel like you just have to focus on you, and you're your only competition. Sometimes, it's, I know it's easier said than done, because we are women, and we are, as women, I guess we get insecure about our own bodies, and you see somebody that's super hot and you're like, oh my gosh, I want to look like this person. But I feel like, it's cool to feel that way, but just focus on you, and, and that's the best thing you could do, just not try to be anybody else that you're not. So, I don't know. I've never felt like, I don't know, probably because I've never really like been in a competition, so I don't know how it is to feel that type of, I'm very friendly with everybody, and I feel like I get along pretty well with a lot of women at the gym. And
yeah, that makes sense.
So, I don't know. I mean, I feel like for me, I'm just focusing on myself and my kids, and just being happy, and people are inspiring people.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm saying like, so like, let's say you want to work out with, you know, another trainer. You just go up to them and be like, hey, let's work out together. Let's do this together.
Oh, with
'Cause
another trainer.
I'm that kid that like will go and up to everybody like,
Yeah.
oh, let's be friends. Let's do this. Let's do that. Do you ever feel that kind of intimidation? Like I sometimes wonder if we're losing that support
The support
system within the female like commodity. Because a lot of male competitors and trainers, they'll work out together on their
Right.
downtime.
Yeah.
I see that happen more among men than more among women. I'm wondering, like, a shift in our culture, like what we could do to make it more where women are supporting women. We could be
Right.
more like that.
Yeah, that is true. I feel like just being, I don't know, just smile more, you know, smiling more, and then just, you know, it's just the smile.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like you just need to smile more and just, you know, give that energy, because when you walk in somewhere and you already have that energy with somebody, like, because the energy is so big
Right.
nowadays, and I feel like the older I'm getting, you can kind of feel like, I don't know, it just feels like, you know, it feels like, okay, maybe this person wants to be left alone. Maybe I shouldn't go up to this person, you know? So I
Right.
just, you know, I kind of like look and then, you know, give them a smile. And if they don't, I'm like, oh, maybe I leave you alone, do my own thing, you know?
Yeah, no, I wonder. I was just wondering about that if you were like experiencing that, because you've been in this. You're in different facets of the industry, which is fascinating because you do the classes and you do the one-on-one. So I was just wondering what your experience was.
No, I never had no bad experience with any of the women I trained at all. Everybody, I'm very open with everyone, and I don't know, I just...
Yeah, well, I've asked like about probably some of the other trainers, you know, like at GB3, about them to be like on this show at different times or whatever, and they'd always be like, "Oh yeah, we totally want to," and then something would come up and they'd be like, "Well, you know, I don't know." So like I said, I've had Andy be fit on 3 times, and
Yeah.
Mercedes, as you know, all the like the people that were on it.
Right.
But then I asked some other people, and they would say they'd want to, but then something would come up and they'd blow it off. And the one girl, she had her class at that time every Thursday when I was having it. And then with the virus, she didn't have it anymore. So I'm like, now you have time to come to my show. She was like, yeah. And then I don't know what, there was like another excuse to come.
Oh, you know what? Okay, maybe she was, because me, to be honest, I'm very shy, and I was nervous and scared. I was like, oh my gosh, you're gonna ask me questions. I don't know how to answer them. So that's probably, I don't know. Maybe
You
they
think
feel,
sometimes people get shy in that case? That's true, because we're used to being more physical and we're not talking.
right? So
And you are, because you're the class instructor, you're not just a trainer. That makes sense.
So this is like more
a good
different.
point,
This is different for me, because when I'm doing a class, I'm more like, come on, let's go. And right here is like, I feel like
Right.
it's questions, and I'm like,
And
oh.
even on stage in competitions, you're not talking. You're like, you're never
you have
talking.
to walk a certain way to like pose. So it's nerve
I
wracking.
knew you had some insight, Briz. I never get to have these conversations really with women in the industry.
Yeah, and imagine somebody that's doing a competition. You have judges, and then people are just all
Right.
eyes on you. It's nerve wracking.
So we need to do more stuff where else that women come together as trainers,
Yeah.
almost like a support group.
Yeah.
We should start a Facebook
That actually be
support.
great. Yeah, that'll be a great idea. Support. Yeah, for sure.
So what is one of the craziest experiences you've ever had with personal training, or a challenge that you came across?
A challenge that I came across. Let's see. Probably one of the challenges that I ever had with personal training was, like, what kind of challenges exactly?
Just anything that you never, I mean, right now I would say probably gyms closing was a huge challenge. Was there something else before that you never thought? I mean, gyms closing is something that nobody ever thought would ever happen. So that this
Yeah.
was a new one for us. Was there something before then that was like, wow, I never thought of that, but now that I'm in this situation, this is an odd situation. Sometimes people have asked me about going to people's houses if I feel safe, and I'm like, well, I know everybody. I never
Yeah.
just met somebody online and went to their house. I mean, what's a challenge that you've come across?
I think the challenge that I came across was taking everybody to the park and them actually showing up, because there's no equipment there. You know, there's no equipment at the
Oh, you
at the
didn't bring
park.
any equipment from home?
No. You know, I just, you know,
Even mats?
I had to tell them, like, if you want to come to class, you have to provide your own mat and own weight. So it's like they're already paying, and then they have to pay for their mat and their weight. So that's the only thing that I felt like, oh shoot, like, is this even gonna come out right? Like, these people, you know, they really want to train, but you know what? It turned out pretty well. People showed up with their mats and weights, so it came into a positive. So I guess the whole park situation was a challenge, because, you know, there's no gym and we're outside, it's hot.
What about timing? Did you ever have like where people were like saying they were going to come and then didn't come, and then you didn't have enough? Have you ever not enough people come for a boot camp to make it worth your time, or you considered maybe not having it anymore or changing times?
I had some times like that where I had probably like 2 people show up. But, you know, I never leave them hanging. I mean, if 2 people showed up, you know, I just train those 2 people and I'll just do it again
That's what
next
I would
week.
do.
And then just keep going. Because I'm gonna work out regardless. So why not just throw the boot camp out there, and if you want to come, hey, I'm here.
So it wasn't ever really hard getting it going in the first place, or maybe in the beginning it was a little hard?
At the beginning, it was hard because of the whole COVID situation going on. So it was a bit, people are scared. So, but then I started posting. I post a lot. So I
Right.
started posting everybody out there, and it looks fun. So people start looking at that, and they start seeing, hey, you know, I want to go to the class, and they show up.
Well, I want to go to your class sometime, definitely.
I can't wait
We'll
to have you
support.
there. You'll have so much fun. And the
Well-
women there are very, you know, actually my women at the boot camp, they're very supportive.
What park is it?
I'm at Woodward Park. So I was,
Oh, okay.
yeah, so I was switching between Woodward Park and Araka Park. So we were doing those 2, but now we're just going to be at Woodward Park. Yeah, I'm not going to do Araka no more.
Right on. Well, Briz, it was so delightful to have you. It's been a while
Thank
since I've
you
had
so
another
much.
trainer on. This is so much fun. Thank you for coming on
Thank
my
you for
show.
having me.